1943 and 1945. It only took 18 months from beginning to end to build this ship, and she cost $86 million. By comparison, the latest active duty carrier, the Gerald R. Ford, cost 8 years to build and cost $13 billion. So a little bit of a bargain thing there. She was based in Virginia for her first several years of service, and she did miss World War II by 2 weeks. The ship was built basically to help win World War II, and so she was commissioned on September 10th, 2 weeks after the war ended. She also did not take part in the Korean War. She was based in Virginia during that time. All of her deployments were to the Mediterranean, and during the early days of the Cold War. So it wasn't until after she had transferred from the East Coast to the West Coast that she saw combat. That transfer from the East Coast to the West Coast is interesting, and this was the first ship in history that could not go through the Panama Canal. In fact, she didn't even go around South America. She did it in style. She went around the world to get from Virginia to California. Once she got there, she went into the yard for a major overhaul for about 3 years, came back out, made her first Vietnam cruise in 1965, then went back into the yard for another 4 years for another major overhaul for modernization, and came back out and did 2 more Vietnam cruises. By coincidence, the Midway's air wing shot down the first enemy airplane of the Vietnam War in 1965 and the last enemy airplane of the Vietnam War in 1973, for a total of 8. And those are the 8 red silhouette airplanes that you see painted up here on both sides of the aisle. When you get out there on the flight deck, you'll be able to see them, and that represents the airplanes that were shot down by the Midway's air wing. After Vietnam in 1973, she was transferred again from California to Yokosuka, Japan. She was the first American warship to be permanently home ported in another country, along with her air wing, her escort ships, family, support, the whole thing. And that practice has continued. The USS George Washington is out there now. She's the 6th consecutive carrier that we've had based in Japan for the defense of the Northwest Pacific. During those 17 years she was in Japan, she was very well thought of by the Japanese people. She was called the Midway Maru. Maru means Lady of the Seas. And she was very well received out there. Toward the end of that time, along came Desert Storm, the first Gulf War. The Midway was not only involved, the Midway was the lead carrier of all 4 carriers that were in the Persian Gulf in 1991. By virtue of the fact that the admiral on board Midway, he was home ported in Japan, the Midway was there, this was his flagship, and so he owned any aircraft carrier that came into the area of responsibility. So during Desert Storm, he had 2 East Coast carriers and 2 West Coast carriers under his command, for a total of 50 warships and about 300 airplanes, the largest task force since World War II under his command. After Desert Storm, she returned to Japan, started preparing to come here to be decommissioned, and she came here in late 1991 and was decommissioned in April 1992 right over here across the bay at North Island. At that point, she was towed up to Bremerton, Washington. She was in the reserve fleet up there for 11 years while they put this museum idea together. They towed her back down here in late 2003, and we opened up as a museum in June of 2004. So you folks are part of about 21 million people who have visited us in 21 years since we opened. We are a nonprofit. We're very successful. We're about a $20 million a year, or $28 million a year nonprofit. We operate our daily expenses, our monthly expenses, out of gate receipts, which are about 65% of our income, and then the rest goes into an endowment fund, which is there for emergencies or if the ship ever had to go back into dry dock for some reason. There's no dry dock in San Diego big enough for an aircraft carrier, so she would have to be towed back up to Bremerton, Washington, in order to get any work done. Fortunately, in 20 years, that hasn't become a necessity. Okay, that's my boss. You folks are on. Go for it.